Hey guys, Hellhound, and the time has finally come to get to the remaining Nightmare on Elm Street entries that I haven't reviewed yet. I've previously reviewed the first three, and I've also reviewed Freddy vs. Jason as part of my Friday the 13th marathon reviews, and so we're at the last series of what I consider the big four of the horror genre. I just did all the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies, all the remaining Halloween movies. And I did all the Jason films initially. I reviewed all the Jason films because it's my favorite out of all horror franchises. Although, the big four or whatever. So since I already reviewed the first three Nightmare on Elm Streets, now we're going to look at Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master. I definitely prefer the VHS cover to this DVD cover, which it's kind of boring looking. I have it over there with my VHS tapes, but whatever, who cares? All right, well, let's get started. All right, well, The Dream Master takes place shortly after the excellent Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors. See my review of that for more details, which is my personal favorite of the series. I know Part 1 is technically the best, but Part 3, Dream Warriors, has always been my personal favorite. And honestly, this movie is kind of a disappointing follow-up. It's not really worthy of Part 3. Kind of a letdown of the greatness of that movie, but it's still certainly not the worst. And it's still pretty good. It's still pretty entertaining. It's kind of got a weak script, but I feel like director Rennie Harlan kind of made up for that in a lot of respects. Now, in this movie, Robert Englund gets top billing. I mean, he's the star. He's not in the shadows anymore. He's not mysterious anymore. He's given center stage here. He's the main focus of the movie pretty much. This is his movie. I mean, he steals every scene he's in. He's got a lot of screen time. I know that he was in Part 3 an awful lot, and he wasn't really scary anymore, but I feel like he was still really intimidating in that movie, and like he wasn't, the main focus quite yet, and he still had wisecracks and one-liners, but he wasn't as hilarious as he was in this movie. This is the kind of the first of what I consider like the comedian Freddy, though it's not as bad as the next two entries. But yeah, so anyway, all the characters from the three remaining Dream Warriors from the last movie, Kristen, Joey, and Kincaid, return, and they're at school now. Now, Kristen, who is played by Patricia Arquette in Dream Warriors, Patricia Arquette didn't return. Now she's played by Tuesday Knight, and it's not really the same because Rodney Eastman returned as Joey and Ken Sagoes returned as a Kincaid. So it's not really the same, but I really did like Tuesday Knight. I really liked her, Kristen. I thought she did a great job considering, I did kind of miss Patricia Arquette while watching this movie, but Knight definitely did a good job. She even sings a song in this movie. She was a musician. She was a recording artist, and one of the songs appearing in the soundtrack was done by her, which is pretty cool. And so, they're the remaining Dream Warriors. And then we have a new cast, new character. We have Sheila, who's like an asthmatic genius. We have Rick, the martial artist, who's obsessed with like karate and kung fu and stuff. Then we have Debbie, who's like a tough girl who exercises a lot, and she hates bugs. She's definitely afraid of bugs. And then we have Dan, who's well, I'll get to that part in a minute. I don't want to spoil it, but the main character is Alice, played by Lisa Wilcox. She's Rick's sister. Rick's dating Kristen, Tuesday Knight, and Alice is the new lead, and she's an awesome heroine. She's an awesome female protagonist. She's right up there with Nancy, played by Heather Langenkamp, and definitely Kristen. They're like the three best female heroines of the Freddy saga. And so, and Dan is the one. Alice has a crush on him. I didn't want to say that's Alice's crush before I introduced Alice. That's why I said that kind of weird, kind of backward. But yeah, anyway, Alice is kind of the new star. And the thing is, Freddy had a very fitting end at the end of the last movie. The way they defeated Freddy Krueger was perfect. They buried his remains, in hallowed ground, poured holy water all over it, put a cross on it. I think it was a very definitive end. I think it was a great way to end the franchise. But I guess they couldn't do it with just 3 movies. And cash registers everywhere rang aloud, and Freddy answered. They wanted to make money, so they brought him back. And it didn't really make sense because he's brought back in Kincaid's dream a dog. Pees on his unmarked grave, and it turns into fire, and then like all his flesh regenerates on his bones. But really, that's not what happened in real life. Because this was his dream. A lot of people say that doesn't make since Freddy came back via fiery dog urine, but that wasn't what happened. This was in Kincaid's dream. So this is in the dream world. We don't know what happened in the real world. I don't know how he was able to come back after the, the holy water and stuff. I think the Dream Warriors, they were still scared. They still were haunted by the memories of Freddy. I think they thought about him too much because they even warned, like, if you think about him too hard, there's like claw marks in a locker. They're like, if you think about it too hard, he'll come back. And I think that's what happened. They just thought of him and it kind of brought him back. The fear, because it's explained like further in the series of the souls of the children that his victims that he kills makes him more powerful and stronger. So I guess that's what brings him back. And so he ends up killing Kincaid in the junkyard. I was really sad to see him go. He was awesome. Then he kills Joey in one of his dreams, a wet dream. You'll see what I mean when you watch the movie. He's killed in his waterbed. There's like a model from a poster. He finds her in his waterbed seducing him, and then he ends up getting trapped in it and drowning. One thing that didn't make sense when Kincaid was stabbed by Freddy's, the knives on his fingers on his glove hand, which is his main weapon, which makes him so awesome. You know what I'm talking about. He's not bleeding. When it shows him in the real world, he's not covered and drenched in blood, which is, I thought that everything Freddy did in the dream world made, happen in real life. And there's a lot of things in this movie that didn't make sense, and I'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, anyway, he kills Joey, kills Kincaid, then he eventually kills Kristen too, Tuesday night, and she passes her powers to Alice, who becomes one of the new Dream Warrior, a Dream Master, if you will. And somehow Alice also takes the powers and abilities of everybody who dies, all of Freddy's victims. You'd think that Freddy would be the one to take their powers, but no, Alice does. And it's kind of weird because Kristen didn't have that ability in the previous movie. She could just pull people into her dreams, so it's kind of strange. But I think it was a welcome. It was kind of a welcome addition. It made it a little more interesting. So yeah, just a Dream Master, which Alice becomes, and she becomes cooler and stronger throughout the movie. And yeah, she eventually ends up dating Dan. He becomes her boyfriend. They team up with Sheila, Rick, and Debbie to try to figure out what's going on. Sheila's killed during clashes. The air sucked out of her in a really weird scene. The special effects are kind of crappy, but I love it. I think it looks so cool. And Rick is killed, and his dream is like martial arts, and Freddy fights him. He's like an invisible force, kicking him with all his kung fu and stuff. And then, Alice gets his power. She becomes a martial arts master now, too. But I think the most standout death is definitely Debbie, the one who's afraid of bugs. She's like exercising, and then she falls asleep, and then her dream, she turns into a cockroach and then becomes stuck in a roach motel, and Freddy crushes it with his hand. A really weird special effect, really nasty and disgusting looking. That was definitely the most memorable scene. I was like, wow, that was just, shocking. I didn't see that coming. Like, wow, it was just really weird and really bizarre. They definitely were creative with the dream sequences and deaths in this one. They definitely went all out with that. But yeah, as I said, it's not really one of the stronger entries, but Alice is a great lead. She's a great heroine. Robert Englund is Freddy. He's always awesome. As I said, this is his movie. He's the star. He's got all kinds of hilarious moments. I love the pizza scene. I love the scene on the beach with his knife fingers looking like Jaws, like the shark fin. Some cool nods. There's like a hotel and a black and white dream called Crave Inn, Wes Craven. Too bad he didn't have anything to do with this movie, but the town looks like the movie looks like it was set in the 50s. The way the town looks, the town there, and it looks like a 50s town. I thought that was kind of cool. So yeah, there's some great visuals, some really cool glossy special effects. Very neat look. It's a great look. It's kind of a weak script. The way they defeat Freddy at the end is just absurd. I mean, they defeated him perfectly at the end of the last one. I guess they had to come up with a new way. I think they really ran out of ideas at this point because it really didn't make much sense. But it's cool seeing all the souls in his chest, going up and tearing him apart. I thought that was a cool special effect nonetheless. It's just what initiated that. I guess I won't give it away. A reflection. Chances are you've probably seen this movie anyway, so sorry if I'm spoiling it if you haven't. But yeah, it didn't really make much sense. It was kind of weird. But yeah, then, Alice and Dan get together at the end, and this movie, Part 4, leads directly into Part 5. They're kind of, they're like back to back. It's kind of like Halloween 4 and 5. They lead right into each other. They're made around that. They were made around the same time, too. Halloween 4 and 5 made around the same time as Nightmare 4 and 5, 1988, 1989, which is pretty cool. Yeah, Rennie Harlin's a great director. He does really good here. He did Die Hard 2, of course, which is awesome. So yeah, some killer effects, some pretty good humor, especially from Freddy. It balances the wit and the gore pretty well in this one. It wasn't, he didn't become the straight-up comedian that he did in later entries, as I've already said earlier. which isn't a problem. Some really creative deaths. Some are kind of a little too over the top and kind of silly. Alice is a great character. Probably the best thing this movie did was introducing Alice. And I was really sorry to see the three Dream Warriors from the previous film go so easily. He dispatched them so easily too. Because I grew so close to them in the last movie, and I started to like them a whole lot, especially Ken Sagoes as Kincaid. He's just hilarious. I remember seeing him in an interview talking about this movie. He said, "Oh, they forgot to kill the black man in the last movie. So you got to bring me back and do it for this movie." That's just hilarious, man. He's hilarious. He's really fun. I'm friends with him on Facebook too. Really cool guy. And Kincaid was just great. He stole every scene he was in. Too bad he wasn't in the movie long enough. But yeah, I do like the new cast. I like the new characters. It's definitely, I think it's kind of a welcome follow-up. It's kind of a good direction to go in after the third film. But really, they probably should have ended with part 3, because I think that was, as I said, that was a definitive ending. That was a good way to finish off the series. It was a great finale. But, I know they wanted to make more money, and we wanted more of Freddy, which is always good. More of Freddy's definitely a good thing. At least in this one. Maybe not in the next sequels, which I'll get to in a minute. But yeah, overall, Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master, is a good movie. Definitely not as good as the first 3. Then again, I don't know. Sometimes I prefer it to part 2, but it's definitely not as good as 1 and 3, which are definitely the best in the series. But yeah, as I said, a good cast. Alice is great. I love Lisa Wilcox. Lisa Wilcox. Sorry, getting tongue-tied, like I always do. She's right up there with Heather Langenkamp's Nancy, and which was good. And I like the new cast. And some very memorable scenes, some cool locations and settings, some great visuals, great directing. It might not have been very well written, but I think Rennie Harlan did his best to cover that up with some very memorable and great visuals and pretty cool effects. So yeah, definitely watch this movie if you're a fan of the series. If you want to see more of Freddy, if you want to see some really funny scenes, he's in. This was before we saw too much of Freddy, so again, it was a good balance in this one. Again, not as good as Part 3 by any means, but still really entertaining nonetheless, and some good moments. So I'd say check it out. Alright guys, I'm Hellhound, and stay tuned. Join me next time, and we'll talk about Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child. Is it a good movie? Stay tuned. We'll find out shortly.